Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. I have a brand new guest on. His name is John Sullivan. He is from Holland, Michigan, and he has a story about CPS caseworkers here that have falsified court documents against him, and everyone in the court system here in Holland, Michigan was okay with letting this happen. CPS caseworkers had a 2-year investigation against his kid's mother for 2 years. Numerous CPS agencies from other counties, ties here in Michigan, also had cases against her. He was never living with the kid's mother, nor was he ever married to her. Now, what had happened is they took these kids away, placed them with foster care parents, and they should have given them to the biological father, is what should have happened. So they're making him pay child support on these kids when he
Yep.
shouldn't have to, and they should have been placed with their father. So I welcome you to the podcast. Uh, John, I'm so sorry this is happening,
Yeah.
where are you at now with all of this mess?
Well, I'm still dealing with the mess. Like a few days ago, I got a call from somebody from the Department of Human Health Services here in Ottawa County. It was a CPS supervisor asking me would I like to speak with her, and I said, well, how can I speak with anybody from this department or agency, man, when I've been done the way I've been done by the people here. And the lady's response was, so you don't want to talk to me? I said, no, because I don't trust anybody from this department or agency, period. And that was the end of the conversation. So yeah, I'm still dealing with pretty much everything that I sent out to you in that email to let you know what's going on. I'm still dealing with it.
When was that phone call? That was
Um, like 3 days ago. Three
hmm.
to 4 days ago, I got a call.
Well, her call should have been, "We're returning the children to you. Happy New Year."
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was basically like, do you want to talk to me? And when I explained to her, I said, well, has the CPS worker Elizabeth Merskins been prosecuted and everybody else who done what they done to me? And she just said, I'm sorry to hear that, but you don't want to talk to me. So I just ended the conversation, just hung up the phone because, like I said, I don't trust those people. And the way they did me and the things that I've been through, and also that they put my parents through. My father's a retired disabled veteran, and they put him in the courtroom like he wasn't nothing, and I couldn't believe this, and my mother, they put both of them in the courtroom, and just treated us all like like we were just crap, like
What did they say to your father and your mother?
well they that was on July 19th was the trial that they set after, like I said, the CPS worker lady came on May 20th of 2022. This is the first time of me ever meeting anybody or hearing anything about this situation. Then when I asked her why wasn't I contacted about anything, and that's when she told me nobody could find you, nobody knew who you were. Then when she leaves that day, I say 3, 4 days later is when I get this paperwork in the mail stating that I abused and neglected my children. My parental rights were terminated. I was an immediate threat to danger and harming my children, whether it was supervised or unsupervised. And I just couldn't believe it's like you just met me today. And then 3 days later, I get that paperwork stating all this. And then it's a trial set up for July 19th. And I was hesitant because they were sending so many police officers to my address. Like they sent police officers to my house on Father's Day. When I had family from out of town over, and it's just very embarrassing to deal with something like that, knowing that you did nothing wrong and nobody wanted to help, listen, or understand what I was trying to say, or help me figure out why were you guys sending all these police officers to our house, banging on the doors, just leaving paperwork telling us that prosecutors told us that if we don't take the paperwork, just leave it on their front porch. And I've never heard of nothing
Mm-mm.
anything like this, never in my day in life of living on earth.
Mm.
Never heard anything like this. Never been in a situation like this where it was okay to go in a courtroom where us as citizens supposed to go in and have the law uphold it. But when I went in that day on July 19th, it was like playing against an NFL team, and I was the only person on the other side playing against all these players. And nobody wanted to hear me, even when I said in the courtroom on July 19th that this lady falsified the court documents against me. Nobody wanted to hear that. No, it was like everybody just drowned me out and wanted to get everything they already had across. Like, how do you write up a petition on somebody and you just met them one day? How do you have a case against somebody and you never met me, like, to even put charges on me? Like, I don't even have any kind of charges like this in the past or present. Like, the only thing that I've had to do with CPS is when the kids' mothers were getting in trouble with them. Like, I got my children. Never was I implicated in any of their cases, so it was just puzzling to me when this CPS worker showed up on May 20th and did all these things.
Now, who was the judge?
The judge was Mark A. Finn. That's Feyen last name. He was the judge for that day. But it was,
Feyen?
yeah, Mark A. Finn, Feyen. That's the judge in Ottawa County Family Court.
And he didn't question
He
any
didn't
of their stupidity. I hate to say that.
yeah, he didn't. I hate to say it, Marianne. He didn't question anything, even when I said it on the witness, saying that, like, this lady falsified court documents against me, and you guys are okay with that? It's like nobody heard that. And now I'm disabled,
Mm,
due to being in a car accident, and my doctor that I go see, well, it was bothering me from when this lady showed up and the things she did. So as I'm talking to him, well, he just asked me, well, would you like me to write a letter for you just on good favor for you? And I was like, yeah, okay, well, let's try that. I'm fine with that. So he wrote that letter for me to take on July 19th because, like I say, they were sending multiple police, to our house, and, and threatening me to, you're gonna lock me up off of false charges, threatening me with court paperwork, telling me if I didn't show up on July 19th, you will be arrested. A warrant will be. I was like, well, how, like, it's just all, it's mind blowing,
mhm.
it's just mind blowing what I've been through, and what's been done, and it's it just bothers me every day knowing that my kids are with someone that never has been a part of their life. And it was so easy for these people just to get them and be placed with them. And I feel like that's how it should have been for me. But nobody gave me that opportunity. Everybody treated me like I didn't exist, and then they tell me in the courtroom in front of all these people that when my doctor wrote that letter, they started questioning my health issues in front of all these people. And that really broke me down because when I talked to my doctor about that, he said if any of those people had any questions about your health, they were supposed to contact me, not talk about, because none of those people are my doctor and I am not a patient of any of the, and plus I didn't need any of these people knowing about what I got going on with my health. That's all confidential,
Mhm.
doctor, patient. So why did they feel like that was okay to use a letter that my doctor wrote for me and use that letter against me that day?
Uh,
Talking about,
this is common. You're
yeah,
now the second or third, and I'm number 4, of a parent that they totally got into the HIPAA issue,
yeah,
and the judge allowed it, which
yeah,
he shouldn't be allowing.
yeah,
They're overstepping their bounds. I'm very sorry.
yeah.
Were Can I ask a question? Were
Hmm.
these people Caucasian?
Uh, yeah, mostly all of the people were Caucasian, and the CPS worker who falsified the court documents against me, she was a Hispanic.
Mm,
So it was just one Hispanic lady, that was Elizabeth Merskins, and everybody else were, Caucasian,
mm.
including the judge, everybody else.
It How do they make your parents feel? I know that's a subjective question. I know they're not here to answer for themselves, but what did they say to you?
Well, that day, because when I started getting all that paperwork about July 19th, I was scared, because I was like, how am I being done like this? And I did nothing wrong. So my parents, my mother and my father, they told, well, we'll go with you.
Mm,
We'll go with you. So that's what they did. But when we got there, I broke down in the courtroom lobby. Like I'm crying like a baby, like
mm,
asking these, I'm asking everybody, like, you guys are gonna violate my constitutional rights
mhm,
like this? And nobody wanted to hear me. It's like everybody was trying to shut me up. And so my parents went in the courtroom first because, like I said, I was in the lobby bawling, crying like a baby.
mm,
It was just because it was just mind blowing. So they put me in a room because I really didn't want to go in the courtroom. And they all lied to me, including the state attorney that they gave me. He was all for them too. He lied. It was just telling me anything just to get me to come in the courtroom.
mm,
So I figure, let me go in here and speak from the heart and tell my story of what's going on, because I'm battling against a state government, a state employee
mhm,
who's falsified a petition and court documents against me. So let me go in here and see if me speaking from the heart, showing my face in here, will do any justice. And that was an epic fail
mm,
because nobody wanted to hear anything that I had to say. Nobody. None of the people that were on the state side that had these charges against me, the judge, my attorney, and then they told me in the courtroom in front of everybody, I cannot make this up to you at all, Marianne,
mm,
that they said, well, Mr. Sullivan, you're disabled, right? I said, yes, ma'am. I'm disabled due to a car accident. Uh, so you receive one check a month? I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And they said, so you can't take care of your two children. And
ah,
yeah, right in the courtroom in front of the judge, my attorney who was representing me, and all the state workers that were in there. Then they had all these people from other agencies, CPS, from Grand Rapids, Michigan, another CPS worker, I guess, that works with Elizabeth Merskins from Ottawa County. And they had all these people coming in the courtroom lying, saying that they made contact with me. And I've never seen these people a day in my life. I've never, if you're a CPS worker, I figure in my head because I don't work for them. But if making contact means you face to face with that person on a specific date, a time, and you're supposed to have a paragraph of what you and that person that you made contact with. They never presented any of these kind of documents that day in the courtroom. They just used the CPS worker's petition that she filed against me. And that's all they used. They just
Mhm.
went off of what she said in a petition. And when she presented that to the court, that's when all these problems started coming my way. I'm not going to call them problems because I know I've done nothing wrong. It's just a lot of issues that I see that's within the justice system that's is corrupt. And me as a black person and a lot of things that black people deal with,
Mhm.
this is something that really scares me now because I got sons,
Mhm.
and how am I supposed to teach my sons that, stuff is okay when people don't care?
Mhm.
People don't care. And then especially people that, took an oath. This is like military. This is like doctors, judges, lawyers, police officers, attorneys, everybody that took those jobs swore under a oath to do their job with honor and integrity.
Mm.
And all those people that day in that courtroom, they abused their powers and they didn't use they didn't swear under that oath that day. And it's just sad that I'm still being harassed by this agency here in Ottawa County, CPS workers, knowing that I was never around through any of the allegations that they had against my children's mother. I mean, like, come on, that's like common sense. Never
Mhm.
was married, never were we living together. I pay child support, and then I had to call the county that I pay child support in to let the worker know that the kids wasn't even with the mother.
Oh.
She didn't even know that my children were not with the mother. So now I'm paying child support to two foster care families that have my daughters. I'm paying them child support now. And it's just puzzling. It's just puzzling because like I said, you show up on May 20th of 2022. It's my first time ever meeting you, hearing anything about this. And then after that day on May 2022, 3 to 4 days later, I get paperwork in the mail stating that I did the same things as the mother. And now I have to come to trial on July 19th of 2022 to go against what this CPS worker wrote up in the petition. Well, I just found that highly suspicious of how could this lady come up with this? And they had a 2-year investigation going against my children's mother, multiple other agencies. So why didn't none of those CPS workers have me in none of their files, in none of their cases? I just don't understand it. I just don't.
So, may I ask how much you're paying these 2 foster care
Well,
families?
I pay I pay close to $500 a month to child support. Comes out of my disability check, so I pay over 5 grand a year to child support. But I don't work for the state of Michigan. They just put up a number that you're supposed to pay. But
Mhm.
we all know when it comes to child support, the state takes the bigger portion of whatever that payment is, and they relay whatever's left over to, if it be the mother that's receiving the child support, or a father, that's, you get the smaller half of what's being paid. So it's like, I don't even understand that at all, but
Mm-mm.
I just know that my kids shouldn't be with these people. I should have never been treated like this. I should have never been told that nobody could find me, because I find that highly suspicious. Like, I've I have kids that's in other states, and when CPS got a hold of them, they never treated me. They just called me to let me know what was going on, what had happened, and they sent the CPS worker from this state to come here to the same residence. Like I said, I've been at the same residence for over 12 years. They sent somebody from out of state to come here, and I had my son. But that was years ago, you know. So it's like, this CPS worker here in Ottawa County, and what she did, and the way she went about working this case that she did, like I said, it 2 years, and it's multiple, not just her. And the case didn't even start with Ottawa County. The case is really out of Kalamazoo County, Michigan. That's where the case originally started against my children's mother. So that's what puzzles me. Well, if it started there, and you said you here in Ottawa County saying I did the same, well, why didn't Kalamazoo County Department of Family Services have me in their paperwork? Why didn't none of these other people have me in their paperwork? Why, when this lady shows up one day, never meeting me out of her whole life, and think that that was okay to put these charges on me, plant these charges on me, and also get everybody within her organization that she works with, including judges, to go along with this, and they're okay with this? So
Well,
that's
I
what I'm
think,
dealing with.
well, I was told, because I went through a very similar situation. One of the nurses I was working with said that, she said, when you go into the courtroom, take everybody and their brother in there with you.
Mhm,
But the judge is always going to listen to this, to what the CPS caseworker is going to say, and he's going to go with their decision.
mhm,
Like, where do they get all this power where they don't even know you? They haven't done proper interviews. They didn't interview your parents, did they? They didn't
no,
interview any other family members.
no,
Nothing. They just do
no.
one-sided um, interviews, and then they
Yeah.
give that to the judge. And if you go to hold them accountable,
Mhm,
what happened to me was I tried to run this through federal court.
yeah.
And it was a joke because the judge admitted he did not read my exhibits. I had well over 1,000 pieces of evidence that was damning, and
Mhm,
he just refused to read them and ruled them irrelevant.
huh,
But the opposing attorney said, "Oh, yeah, you know, interviews were conducted. They, CPS interviewed the psychologist, everybody else on his side of the family, the psychologist. No, I'm talking about my side of the family. No one was interviewed, just like you. My
yep.
parents were never interviewed. My
Mhm,
sister-in-law tried to call. She was never interviewed. They're going by their own set of rules, and this is very scary, and everyone should know about. That's why I'm so glad you came on to speak
yep.
out, is to warn people that these individuals that are uneducated and
Yep.
biased, and, well, they can take your child at any moment and place them
Mhm,
into foster care and make you pay child support.
yep.
None of this should have ever happened to you, John. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, it's just something that I'm dealing with. So it's just it's just been rough.
You
It's
know,
just been rough.
have you looked into finding a civil suit attorney at all?
Well, I'm glad you said something about that because I've called all over Michigan. I've called the Michigan Civil Rights Department in Detroit. Spoke to a lady there named Kelly Lewis. Now this lady was acting like she was gonna help me. And
Mm,
everybody wants me to send over paperwork and do this and do that. So I do this thinking that, you know, no, it's like it's a joke to everybody. It's like nobody cares. If it ain't happening to them, then nobody wants to, nobody wants to help. Because I've called everybody and all. I had one guy tell me from out of this is up by Detroit, Michigan, because I've been calling all around just trying to see if I can get help. He's like, it's gonna cost you like $400 and some dollars just to get me to come down to where you are, and then it's gonna cost you even more if I even feel like taking the case. I'm like, I mean, come on. It's like this is a no-brainer situation for anybody if they would just sit down and listen to what I gotta say, not just me, because I have two other people that been with me throughout this whole situation that we can't make this up. Like I
mhm,
can't believe that this happened to me,
mhm,
and it's just crazy. It just breaks me down every day, but I'm gonna stay strong because I know I did nothing wrong. And it just makes me stronger every day when I get a call from one of them and they're still trying to harass me. So and I just shut them down because I'm not going to comply. They were trying to have me do mental health
ah,
evaluations and sending me paperwork and doing background checks on me and sending off like what I thought you guys said you didn't know who I was and nobody could find me. But now all of a sudden I'm getting all this paperwork. I'm being harassed every other day. I'm getting all this paperwork pertaining to things that I didn't do just because a CPS worker wrote them up. And it was just a constant flow of just court documents from this rogue CPS worker and the rest of her gang, if that's what you want to call them, because that's
mhm.
what they are, a
Oh,
gang
yeah.
of corrupt state employees. I hate to say it, but
Yeah,
yes, they are
yep.
corrupt state employees here in Ottawa County just doing whatever, not just here, all over the United States. Because, after I reached out to you and I started looking into your podcasts and seeing, things that you guys are talking about on there, I started looking up a lot. So it's not just here in Holland, Michigan, and this is just a small little town that nobody knows about here, so it's happening everywhere. But to be here, where it's mostly a Caucasian environment, and that's what really rules this area. It's hard for people of color, especially for me.
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
I'm originally from Chicago, so the things there, it's just like that'll blow your mind, and you leave there to try and get a little hope somewhere else, and then here you is living in another area where it's still the same thing going on, corruption, you know, state workers just doing whatever they want to do, and the police department,
mhm,
Ottawa, Ottawa County Public Safety, all those people let me down. Officer Nicole Hamburg, she came by to take a statement from me. I mean, I was crying in front of this police officer,
mhm,
and she looked like she was gonna help me. And then she told me, well, I gotta talk to my supervisor. And I guess she was speaking with her supervisor about what I told her. And like I said, it's all a joke to them. She calls me, lets me know, oh, it's nothing that we can do. Once the judge makes the decisions, there's no way that anybody can help. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me, especially when I know I did nothing wrong. So
Mm-mm.
there should be something that somebody could do to rearrange and reevaluate all the things that you guys did to me. Somebody needs to step up and think about what happened. Somebody needs to go back and look at all the paperwork. Ask these people, especially the CPS worker who planted these charges, where's your documentations of ever making contact with them? Just like all those other agencies, and not just these people. They had people from shelters that were trying to help my kids' mothers. People from like women's women's groups and all these people that had these allegations against her. And then I have the same allegations, but I was never around. If any of these people would speak up and be honest, that would be the point, that he was never around. He was never involved in any of this. So like, why should he even be charged, even be
Mhm.
sitting in the courtroom? You know, like when I got that paperwork saying that I had to come to a trial after
Mhm.
this lady showed up on May 20th, that I got to come to trial on July. Like, come to trial. When people go to court, you go into court because you did something wrong. I've never been bullied to come to court
Mm.
by government workers and state employees, like here in Holland, Michigan, and I did nothing wrong. To be bullied and make you come to court and threaten you with a bench warrant if you don't show up. I've never been bullied by the system like how I've been here. And due to the fact that, like I said, this CPS worker falsified court documents, and
Mhm.
she's still working the job. All these people still working the job, and they know that everything they did to me was a total lie and it was corrupt.
Did you notify the governor of your state of this case?
Yeah, I've called her offices, and all these people tell me that there's nothing that they can do because they work with CPS. That's I've called the higher ups. I've tried to call everybody. Anybody that you can imagine that represents this state of Michigan that I thought would be able to help me has let me down, or has told me that there is nothing that they can do for me because they work with CPS. And I was told, that I couldn't even press charges against this lady for the longest. And then it was one person that I called at the Ottawa County, I think it was the Ottawa County downtown court office. It's here on 8th Street in downtown Holland. And this one lady, God bless this lady, she told me that there is, that's why I say it is good people out there that will speak up, but it's more evil people to those good people. So you will never find out what you really need to know unless those good people speak up and
Mhm.
explain things to you. So I thank that lady for letting me know that I could press charges against that CPS worker for
Mhm.
doing that. And then when I did all this, like I said, and Officer Nicole Hamburg from Holland Police Department, she came by. I cried like a baby to this police officer because I couldn't understand it. She took my statement. Like I said, she was supposed to have been talking to her supervisor. They talked. And then maybe a week after that, I was told that there was nothing that nobody could do for me. I've called the prosecuting attorney for Ottawa County here in Holland, Michigan, and he had his assistant call me back and tell me, yeah, there's nothing that we can do for you because we work with CPS.
That's a
So,
giant conflict of interest.
yeah,
Um, did that woman that you talked to, you can sue these people just in their own capacities, just sue them civilly?
uh, I mean, I wish if I had some help, because
I know.
at this moment here, you know, I know nothing about the law, the system, the way it works, so I don't know if it's somebody that can help me understand why, or help me get these people for what they've done. I would very much appreciate that, because like I say, my trust now is no more. Like, I have a brick wall up when it comes to police here, you know, everybody within that system. Like, I just shut it down. Like, even when I see a call, a number that I don't have stored in, I let it ring, go to voicemail, then I listen to it. And it might be one of them trying to, steal. So I just don't even respond, because it's just heartbreaking that I'm dealing with this. And I've told them from the beginning, even the state attorney who they just threw to me, just threw me this guy. And soon as I got to talk to this guy, I knew he was for them and not for me. So, and then I've tried to talk with, civil attorney, and then it was a lot of people telling me that that's what I needed, a civil attorney to, and I've called like out of state to see, and people say, well, we can't help you because we don't work. We're not from that state. I was told that, I called one guy, he told me, well, you stay in Michigan. I stay in this state, so I can't help you. But so it's just like I'm lost. And then, it's like everybody's talking about money, 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 money. It's like
Mhm.
it's everybody's money hungry. Like, you know, if somebody was to help me with this case, then it could benefit them and me, you know. Like, if that's what it's all about is money for them, then where's your heart? If you help somebody out, then it could maybe benefit you. If that's what you're so worried about, maybe it could bring more spotlight to your field of work by helping somebody out that's going through a situation like this. So, like I say, it's just hard times right now, and everybody's wanting this and wanting that. So I haven't got any civil lawyers to help me. Like I said, I've called all around, and everybody just thought it was a joke. They asked me to send the paperwork to them. I send the paperwork to them, email it over to them. They look through it and they tell me there's nothing that we can do. And, this is lawyers telling them, like, how? When I'm explaining to these people, never talk to me. Never, never, never spoke with me throughout a whole 2-year investigation. And then you plant the same charges on me as my children's mother has, knowing that we've never spoke and I've never been around when any of those allegations that they had against my children's mother. I was never present for them. So
Mhm.
how could I be sitting here dealing with this, being bullied by this state and this county, telling me to do this and do that when I've done nothing wrong, and I
Mhm.
and I just and I just won't stand for that, and I haven't been.
Have they asked you to take anger management classes?
Yep, they asked me
Yeah.
about all this. And like, I have PTSD due to me being in my car accident, and I already go to doctors and stuff for that, and they sent paperwork to the same office as I'm already going to see a doctor, and that office rejected because, like I said, I was talking with my doctor about this whole situation of how I was done by these people, and he it just blew his mind.
Mhm.
And he's the guy with all the degrees. I'm coming to see him, you know. And when I spoke to him about what has happened to me, it just blew his mind. Like, he could not believe that. this has happened to me. But it's a lot of people that says the same thing, but nobody has reached out to help me or give me the opportunity to even tell my story. That's why I thank you so much for reaching out to me after I reached out to you to give me an opportunity to speak and let the people know what's going on with my situation. And not just only my situation. Like I said, I've been watching your podcast and I see I'm not the only person going through things like this. And it's just sad that I watch other people, some people be heartbroken.
Mhm.
Just like me, I'm heartbroken over the whole situation. That how could we be done like this?
Right. And
And it's
people,
just,
I'm sorry. It's like people don't understand our stories until it happens to them.
yeah,
And I'm trying to serve as a warning that it can happen to anyone at any time. These people can show up. In fact, 1 out of 3 families will be a victim of CPS.
yeah,
And, even the state of Texas is hiring more CPS.
yeah,
Texas is super corrupt. But anyway,
yeah. I seen that. I seen that.
and the thing is, like, what they did to you and you weren't even involved. I had an allegation and I wasn't even involved,
Yeah.
but they pinned stuff on you. And I don't know if
Hmm.
you had to do this, but I had to go before a CPS judge and go through the whole case. And I had an attorney, and that was an expensive day. I think that was like a $1,400 day with her, but she was a good attorney, and I was exonerated. And then
Hmm.
4 days later, there was another charge on me. Like,
Hmm.
this is so suspicious. And
Yeah.
what they're doing to you is so suspicious because, you weren't even there.
I was never around, like, period. Never
Yeah.
involved in any of the allegations that they have. Never, never. And all these people, like, all these people, I can just, I'm gonna just read off these names that I got here, these people, uh, that all did me wrong here in this county of Ottawa County in Michigan. Michael Stewart, now he's from Coscas. You have the judge referee, David Macias, Chief Circuit Judge, John A. Van Allsburg, Judge Paul F. Cross, Attorney Michael Spaldman, Van Buren County caseworkers, Lisa Kissinger, Heather Stately, the CPS supervisor who laughed in my face and told me that my kids' shoe soles were worn down so bad, Sarah Winters, Elizabeth Merskins, the CPS worker who planted the falsified court documents against me, Jane Baker, CPS, Jessica Belowski, CPS, Steve Williams, my state attorney, who never did nothing for me, let everything just go how it was, Officer Nicole Hamburg, and the whole Holland Public Safety Office, Judge Mark A. Finn, the judge who allowed these people to violate my constitutional rights and my HIPAA rights and just do me wrong in the courtroom in front of him, period. Belinda Barbie and Shauna Bond, the attorney for CPS. All those people that I just named were all in the courtroom that day, besides the Holland police officer. She wasn't. But all the other people, they were all in the courtroom when my constitutional rights were violated by them. And when they talked about my medical history in front of all these people, even people that they had on the screens, other attorneys, and everybody representing everybody, like, should nobody know about what's going on with anybody's medical history if that person didn't okay that?
Mhm.
So,
Right, they would have to
yeah,
sign a consent
yeah,
for release of information, to the
Yeah.
court.
And
Uh,
I never did that. Never did that. They just went off of a letter that my doctor wrote for me, just explaining just explaining things. And they just went off of that and started bluntly talking about, well, asking me, so you got PTSD, huh? So with you having PTSD, you get real angry and just making that I cannot make this up to you. My mother and
mhm,
father were in the courtroom, and you talking about my disability, and when you tell me that because I receive a check, well, what about my father that's sitting in a courtroom that's a disabled veteran that served this country with honor?
mhm,
He's not dishonorably discharged. He's honorably discharged, and he's disabled.
mhm,
So not only did you just talk about me as a disabled person, you just downplayed my father
mhm,
and every other person in this world, disabled veterans. You just talked about all of us.
mhm,
You just did that. And I find that highly disappointing
mhm.
because my father is a veteran and there's other people that's veteran. So would you tell a veteran that served this country, that got his leg or arm or anything blown off, and he came back home and he got killed, would you sit there and tell him that you can't take care of your kids because you lost an arm in combat, or you lost a leg in combat, or because you're suffering from PTSD from the war? You can't take care of your children because you get angry, or that makes you, certain things might just make you just go off. And how would you tell a veteran that?
And just because someone has PTSD doesn't mean they fly off the handle every 2 minutes.
Right.
Also now, you and I both have complex PTSD because we've been bullied and harassed by the court system and these judges
Yeah.
that are not thinking for themselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm really sorry this has happened to you.
Yeah.
What is your next step? Are you're just, not responding to their emails or phone calls, you're just not going to play in with their game?
Yeah. I'm not gonna play in. Like, I've blocked all those people, like even from trying to email me, trying to call me, I blocked everybody. My main goal is that what I would like for someone to help me.
Mhm.
You know?
And
And I would like to have my children
right,
back.
and that's what should
You know?
happen.
Right. That's what should have happened in the beginning.
Right.
My kids should have never been living in no street or whatever, that they were going through with the mother. If you guys had all this going on, you know, somebody should have reached out to me sooner, you know, instead of just playing oh, we didn't know who you were, or we couldn't find you game. Like,
Mhm.
because if, people, I don't know if these people were stupid or dumb, but yeah, we see that they are, because they must think that they're the only ones who work in that field. Like, people don't have friends of friends or family members that work in those fields that
Mhm.
they can maybe pull to the side like I did. Like, I have friends of friends that work in that field. And when I explain that situation to a CPS worker who's in the field, that I know that's an honest person, you know, the look on that CPS worker's face was devastating to hear what another so-called person like her did to me from another person in the same field. Like, she said that something's not right. Something's not right with that, what you told me. And that's what I've been saying since the beginning.
Now, if anyone has any questions, how can they reach you?
Uh, my email is lowercase js 113656 at gmail.com. You can reach me by email. You know, I always have my phone, so I can always check my emails, you know, if I get anything like that. So
Well, I know of another mom that's not playing into their games either because they want her to take classes and all this stuff, and she's not playing it.
yeah,
I
that's
think
the same
that's what
thing.
has to be done is people just not playing into their money game. And the thing is what you brought up in the beginning, and I won't keep you all morning, but when you brought up in the beginning, the money, it's
Hmm.
just that they see that you have disability and they know they can take the child support out of the disability and leave
Yeah,
you with whatever to live on, and that's
yeah,
what they're doing,
yeah,
and that's kinda what they did to me, and I completely understand, and you are not alone,
yeah.
and, and I'd like to have you back on the podcast
Oh
with
yeah, most
updates.
definitely.
Yes.
Most definitely.
So, don't jump off. Okay. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with John Sullivan in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you for sharing and speaking out on your story to warn others.
Thank you for having me.